Hey everyone, Captain Amazing here, and today I want to talk about the difference between the art and science of farming. So let's jump into it. I see a lot of players who make a farming pathway here, and they a lot of times they set specific dates for themselves on what they want to do. And I would say that you can do that for certain things, and there's ways to estimate how fast certain things are going to take. So if you look at like Saw Gerrera, his accelerated, I know if I farm him, I'll get about an average of 3 shards a day. So I can estimate he needs like 53 shards. So let's say like divide that by 3, mental math, 20, I don't know, 17 days or something. So in 17 days, I should have him 3 starred. So if I wanted to start this farm, I would say, hey, I'm pretty close to having Tarful, Saw Gerrera. In 17 days, I'll have Saw Gerrera. And then 34 days, so like 11, 12 days, I'll have Tarful. And then I can start planning on what I want to do. Calcastis is an accelerated farm with an 8 node refresh. So I can estimate that that would take, honestly, it would probably take me like 2-3 days to finish out Cal Kestis here. I don't want to like mental math it, but like 2-3 days, maybe 4 at the max, just to get his shards, just because he's so cheap and he's accelerated. So it would be insanely fast. So if I was like, hey, how long would it take me to farm this? It would be like, hey, 3 weeks, I should be good to go, and I can fully go into this Jedi Calcestis. And that's perfectly a fine way of doing things as far as estimating farms, so that you can ensure that you're not wasting materials. But when people have, and before, let's talk about what my farming pathway was before. So before, I have just farmed, I think I farmed JML into Profundity. I don't really remember. I think I shored up some stuff. Oh, Inquisitors, yeah. So I went like JML, Inquisitors, Profundity, and I didn't set a specific date or timeline. It did end up falling pretty well to where I finished Profundity. I finished the farm a day before the event came out, so that all came to fruition pretty well. But I didn't set specific timelines. I wasn't like, okay, I need to get X amount of this, I need to get X amount of that. I didn't go on SWGOH.gg and like hard, like, okay, I need, this much signal data. I know I can estimate like I need this much, and kind of like plan it all out so that I can farm it in May of 2024. That wasn't my plan. It just kind of happened that way. And what I do is I just set a farming plan here. So looking at the future of what I'm going to do, JMK. So JMK, I have everything at gear 12. I have my watt. I have a good amount of this stuff. I'm farming. If you look at my how I farm relic material guide, you'll see I go in depth of how I farm all these pieces, and that's why you see a lot of gear here, because I farm all the right side at the same time, and then the left side, and then I build the higher level relic materials, and then I accelerate the left side. But and while I do that, I'm farming up these the signal datas for these characters. But I pretty much have everything I need scavenger wise for all these guys. It's just like the left side pieces and the signal data that's holding me back. And while I'm doing that, I'm just like farming my next things. But I don't have a set goal for JMK. I really don't. I estimate that it takes me, at this point, I've been doing about a big farm every month to a month and a half or something. And that's just where my income is. And because I like shard farmed everything as well. So I'm just kind of finishing the Chirotech, and the signal data is my bottleneck. And I'm already like, I'm pretty much putting some of my Chirotech on my next farm, which will be Marin. So as I'm doing this, I'm not really hard planning. Okay, I need JMK by this date, and then I need Cat by this date, and I need Padme by that date, and then I can farm whatever I'm gonna farm after that. Like I don't think that's necessary, and I think overall it adds to unnecessary stress, because a lot of times when people submit their roster reviews, I ask them like, hey, what are you currently farming? And a lot of people are like, well, I'm farming this and I should have it finished by, like July, and then by August I should have this one, and by October I should have this one, and then 2025, June or January I'm farming this, and then X, Y, and Z, and they're legitimately planning out dates on how they want to finish these big farms. And then a lot of times I hear them say like, oh, I'm behind on this farm, or I'm behind on that farm, or I'm not hitting the kind of like the deadlines that they set for themselves. And I would say that's not a good way to play a video game. Like it adds unnecessary levels of stress on your farming pathway. Farm efficiently, plan your farms, plan farms that give you more income, but don't feel so hard set on specific dates that you need to get it. Like if you get it next month, it's not a big deal. If you miss the one time where it is important is like with fleets. So fleets, the event comes up once a month for these big GL fleets. If you're not going to make that deadline, just get it next month, and then you can slowly farm the requirements while you like start working on your next farm after you finish that GL fleet sharp. It's not that big of a deal to where if you don't make these imaginary timelines that you set for yourself, that it's going to ruin your gameplay, or it's going to be so hurtful towards your farming pathway that you need to stress out about it. At the end of the day, we have Grand Arena every 3 weeks out of a month. Like the month resets. If you miss something by a month, it's not the end of the world. And ruminating over it or worrying about it is just going to add more stress into this game, which is going to make it not as enjoyable. This game should be enjoyable. Enjoy the milestones. And if you feel like, if you ever felt that you unlocked something and you felt bad because it took longer than you thought it was, then you're stealing that joy of what you earned, and it just overall turns into a negative instead of a positive. And so if you just set your farming pathway, you can rough math it if you want, just so that but as long as you're going on SWGOH.gg, you're seeing what you need, you're planning your farms efficiently, you're setting your farm so that it's giving you more resources, or you're farming things for certain reasons, then you're going to be just fine. But don't feel that you have to hit your deadlines. You have to unlock it by this point. You have to unlock it by this date. And one thing I do hate, and that drives it a lot more, is a lot of times guilds will set arbitrary deadlines. Like, we're all going to farm Inquisitors by this set date. So, and that overall can hurt the guild, because if it's like raids or something like that, I understand having a standard, and if it's like, okay, right away we don't know what the raid requirement is, but 3 months down the line you better be hitting this much participation. I can understand that, because it's about raid income, it's about guild goals. But if you yourself are just setting arbitrary deadlines for arbitrary reasons, and you're getting upset at yourself because you're not reaching these deadlines, then evaluate what your mind frame is on why you need to attain those things at certain times. And I promise you, chances are that it's not that big of a deal if you don't reach it by those set goals. So with that being said, I do think you should plan your farming pathway and just set a guideline, and then just efficiently layer your farm so that you're trying to reach these in a smart manner. And then that way, when you do reach these farming pathways and you unlock these important things or these big farms, then it just feels like a positive. You unlocked something, you hit a milestone, rather than something that's a negative where you feel that you didn't meet your expectations. So this game can be stressful. There's a lot of things, but try to relax, try to enjoy it, try to find the joys in all the different ways of planning, because planning is a huge part of this game and why I love it so much. But don't ruminate on it. Don't feel that you have to reach your deadlines. And if you do that, this game is going to get a lot more enjoyable over the long term. So if you have similar ideas, or if you think it's important to actually set timelines for your farms, let me know in the comments why. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.